Club Candy. Chapter 10. I Got Robbed. The success of the Candy Lady enterprise, while a blessing, also made the Reynolds family a target. In a world where poverty was a constant, hungry predator, any visible sign of prosperity, no matter how modest, was like blood in the water. The tin box under the floorboards was a secret, but the daily parade of children and the constant exchange of pennies for sweets was not. The neighborhood, for the most part, saw Eleanor's business as a community asset, a source of pride. But there were always those on the fringes, those whose own desperation had curdled into a predatory envy. The first robbery was a crude, brazen act that violated the front porch's unspoken sanctity. It happened in the late afternoon, just as the last of the children were making their purchases. A young man, a stranger to the immediate block but with the familiar, haunted look of a dope fiend, had been lingering nearby. He waited until the porch was clear of children, then approached Eleanor, his movements jerky and unpredictable. "Gimme the box," he said, his voice a low, desperate rasp. His eyes darted around, never quite meeting hers. Eleanor, who was preparing to close up for the day, looked at him not with fear, but with a profound, weary sadness. She saw not a monster, but a lost boy, a child of the neighborhood who had been consumed by the very demons she fought to keep from her own children. "This is for the children, son," she said, her voice calm and steady. "I ain't playing, old lady," he snarled, taking a step closer. He gestured as if he had a weapon in his pocket, though his hand was shaking. "Gimme the box." From inside the house, Joey, now a lanky, watchful teenager of 14, saw the confrontation. A cold, protective fury ignited in his chest. He started for the door, but Joe, who had just gotten home and was washing up in the kitchen, put a firm hand on his shoulder. "Stay put," he commanded in a low voice. "Let me handle this." Joe came to the screen door, his presence filling the frame. He was not an armed man, but he carried the quiet, formidable strength of a man who had spent his life in hard labor. "You need to move on, son," he said, his voice a low rumble of authority. "There's nothing for you here." The young man hesitated, caught between his desperate need and the unexpected obstacle of Joe's presence. He looked from Joe's stony face to Eleanor's calm, unyielding gaze, and his resolve crumbled. With a final, frustrated curse, he turned and fled, disappearing down the alley. The incident was over in moments, but it left a scar. The sanctity of the porch had been breached. That night, the mood in the Reynolds household was somber. Joe was quiet, but his anger was a palpable force in the small apartment. He felt he had failed to protect them, that his secret dealings with the mob were a mockery if he couldn't even keep his own front porch safe. "We should stop," he told Eleanor, the words tasting like defeat. "It's getting too dangerous. It's not worth it." Joey, listening from the other room, felt a surge of agreement. He wanted to barricade the door, to stand guard with a baseball bat. He wanted to find the man who had threatened his mother and make him pay. But Eleanor, as always, was the calm in the storm. She placed her hand on Joe's arm, her touch a silent balm. "No," she said softly, but with an unshakable firmness. "We don't stop. We don't let one lost soul take this away from us. This isn't just candy, Joe. You know that. This is our life. We don't run from it." She looked toward the other room, her gaze finding Joey's in the shadows. "And we don't meet anger with more anger," she said. Her words meant for both her husband and her son. "That's a fire that consumes everything it touches." Joe, looking into his wife's clear, steady eyes, felt his own anger begin to recede, replaced by a deep, abiding admiration. She was right. To stop now would be to let the darkness win. They would be more careful, more watchful, but they would not stop. Joey, however, did not feel the same peace. He saw his mother's strength, but he interpreted it differently. He saw it as a reason to be more protective, vigilant. He saw his father's restraint not as wisdom, but as a weakness. In the fierce, unforgiving calculus of his young heart, a simple equation was beginning to form. The only way to protect the people you love is to be more dangerous than the people who would harm them. It was a lesson he would not forget, a lesson that would begin to shape the man he was destined to become. Next episode, Chapter 11. I Got Robbed. Again.